Good morning, everyone. So the day has arrived. Woo! I want to say it's an absolute miracle, given the challenges. That's the sound effect. All right. With every challenge, I can't tell you, numerous blessings came. So, and you are part of that blessing. So thank you for being here. Oh, thank you. So let's say hello to our international audience. Hi from South Africa. We've got participants from all continents. We've been truly blessed. Must I stop? Continue. Okay. So we're going to start off, well, you know I'm Shakila, right? Shakila Maharaj. The founder of ShazaCin Accessible Media, the company that is driving audio description on this continent. And we are the hosts of this conference or symposium. And we are so privileged to have KZN Tourism and Film alongside us, supporting us all the way as our partner. Can we give them a round of applause? And right next to me, you're wondering, who's that stunning woman? So it's Dr. Sam. Dr. Sam is the founding director of Power 24. And I want to tell you quickly about it because I was very selective in picking her. We are walking similar paths. With no money and passion, we are bringing about our aspirations. Me and my audio description, making the world accessible to visually impaired persons. And Sam, what are you bringing?
I'm bringing the vulnerable communities together through film.
Sam has started an organization that focuses on film and telling the stories of all marginalized groups. And it's growing, the festival. So that's why we're here together. So I want to kick off straight away. We've got our Naik learners. They are from the School for Hearing Impaired and Deaf Persons. We've got our teachers who are going to do the translation and interpretation. And you're going to experience something super unique. It's our national anthem in sign. So let's get started. Can everyone stand, please? So what you're going to experience is Deborah Hewing, part of our team, and I'm going to introduce you to the team a little later. But for now, we're going to experience our amazing learners signing, as I said, our national anthem, and Deborah will describe when it's appropriate what they're actually doing.
The 8 learners are on stage. 5 young black men and 3 young black women wearing the maroon uniform of the school. And they're standing with the tallest boys in the middle, and they're all holding their hands in a prayerful gesture. The group has their conductor standing in front of them. They're on the lower stage.
See
ended with their hands on their hearts, and they also raised their hands in a sign of deaf applause, so hands raised and waving.
Now they will perform a poem in sign, and Deborah will also describe where appropriate.
So the 8 learners are standing on the stage in a semicircle, the same formation as before.
Be deaf to understand. Written by Willard Madsen.
The children are using hand gestures and arm gestures and facial expressions to translate the sentiments in the poem.
What is it like to hear a hand? You have to be deaf to understand. What is it like to be a small child in a school, in a room void of sound, with a teacher who talks and talks and talks, and then when she does come around to you, she expects you to understand what she said. You have to be deaf to understand.
They raise their hands up and make us a sign of exasperation, throwing their hands out and also frowning deeply. 2 of the male learners have now stepped to the front.
Or the teacher who thinks that to make you smart, you need to learn how to talk with your voice. So mumbo jumbo with hands on your face for hours and hours without patience or end, until out comes a faint sound. You have to be deaf to understand.
They indicate finger wagging and swiveling their hands around, spinning their hands around to show confusion, tapping their wrist to indicate time. 2 more boys have stepped forward.
What is it like to be curious, for thirst for knowledge that you can call your own, with an inner desire that sets on fire, and you ask a brother, a sister, or friend, who looks in answer and says, "Oh, never mind." You have to be deaf to understand.
Their gestures include holding their hands to their heart and then throwing them out to indicate giving from within.
What is it like in a corner to stand, though there's nothing you've done really wrong, other than try to make use of your hands to a silent peer to communicate a thought that comes to your mind? You have to be deaf to understand.
Boy and girl learner were on the stage, and they turned to face each other, communicating thinking by putting a finger to their foreheads and moving their hands towards each other.
What is it like to be shouted at when one thinks that will help you to hear, or to misunderstand the words of a friend who are trying to make a joke clear, and you don't get the point because he has failed? You have to be deaf to understand.
The 2 girls who stepped forward have now come to the outside of the semicircle, and 3 boys have come forward.
What is it like to have to depend upon one who can hear to phone a friend, or place a call to a business firm and be forced to share what's personal? And then you find that your message wasn't clear. You have to be deaf to understand.
The 3 boys step back.
What is it like to comprehend some nimble fingers that paint the scene and make you smile and feel serene, with the spoken word of the moving hand that makes you part of the world at large? You have to be deaf to understand.
The group is all smiling, and they wave their hands and shake their hands in front of their faces and give a little jump.
What is it like to hear a hand? Yes, you have to be deaf to understand. Thank you.
Thank you. The group is all signing thank you and giving the deaf sign for applause. So the applause is your both hands up and waving, and the gratitude sign is putting both sets of fingertips toward your lips and then bringing them out in a giving gesture. So we have the same group of 8 on stage, and they're now going to perform a dance, which is a combination of prayer and marching, and it's the Lord's Prayer in Zulu. I'm just going to give you a little overview before they start, because it's quite fast-paced and there's audio. So we start with the 5 boys and 3 girls standing in two rows, 3 girls and a boy in the front and 4 boys behind, and they're now facing the room, not on the stage, but just in front of the stage. They're going to do a series of marching, stepping, kicking in unison, crouching and rising up, and making prayerful gestures, and also raising their fists in the air as they go through. There's a sequence in which they are jumping and shuffling and high kicking, and towards the end, they pair up and they skip around in a circle. Thank you. Thank you.
Give us this day our daily bread. Thy will be done as it is done in heaven.
as the music ended, the boys were on their knees with their hands clasped, and the girls came forward to pull them up, lift them to their feet, and they all stood in one line with their fists raised before moving off to sit at their tables. Can we give the group another round of applause, hands raised and waving, and gratitude with our fingertips giving. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you so much. That was Deborah improvising. I want to say, I wonder if you thought how incredible that was what you just witnessed. Remember, they couldn't hear, right? And they they danced rhythmically in rhythm to the music. And what a beautiful rendition of the Lord's Prayer, and what a lovely way to bless our proceedings today. You may ask yourself, why have I chosen to start with the deaf sector and project how our deaf learners communicate? If you think about it, it's the antithesis of what we are as blind persons and how we communicate. We make the visual verbal, to quote Dr. Joel Snyder's line. The visual is made verbal for us. We take visual images and convert it to words. And here you have the exact opposite. Sign language is a visual language. They take audio and turn it into visual. They take the verbal and make it visual, the exact opposite. And I think for me it illustrates that even though we come from opposite sides in terms of our disability, not being able to see and not being able to hear, we can collaborate and communicate together. And that's what this whole symposium is about, is inclusion and learning to communicate with us through the art form of audio description. So I want to, at this point, quickly give recognition to my team. We would have never come this far without them. You've seen Deborah and heard her. Deborah, I want, please, for Mtoko to stand wherever you are, Mtoko. Tracy, well, right, Tracy. Sibonga. Jeremy. How many are blind there? I forgot. More than half of us. Okay? So I want to say, if it was not for their dedication and commitment and working around the clock, we would not have got this far. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you. And then we've got TIA, Technology Innovation Agency, that has stood by us and supported us not only in terms of grant funding, because remember, we are the innovators of the Describe-It app as well. And today, they are here behind us, enabling this event to happen. So what are the objectives of this session? Why have we come together to have this symposium? I want to share three very key objectives. Am I shouting too much?
No, it's just
Maybe that's it. Okay, should I shout without the mic?
No, it's fine.
Okay,
Continue.
all right. So the first objective in putting this session together was to create awareness. You know, us visually impaired persons here, audio description, there's little awareness around it in South Africa and on this planet and in this continent. So we've got to come forward and make people aware of it. The tendency is to think that if we're blind, we should only be able to communicate using Braille. Braille is extremely important. But in addition to tactile communication, we need to understand that we live in a visual world, and visual information needs to be made equally accessible to us. And that's the point. When I went blind in my early 20s from an injury earlier on, I realized I could still see, like many blind persons. We see through our mind's eye, through our imagination. Every sound conjures a picture. And that is why audio description is not a luxury. It's not for entertainment. It's not a luxury. It's a lifeline. as we move more and more towards video and visual-based communication, audio description is a necessity. And that's the point of this symposium. The second key objective is to make you understand that audio description is applicable across industry sectors. So Sam will tell you now the different panels and what they're going to be focusing on and how audio description is related to that. And last of all, our intention is to have a body, a driving force to stimulate the acceptance and advancement of audio description. And that is one of the objectives to come out of this initiative. So Sam?
I'm going to move you a bit so that I'm able to talk. All right. Good morning, everyone. Sanbonani. Sanbonani. Khuyamore. Okay. My name is Dr. Samgele Khumalo. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you very much, my colleague. Oh, this is a dear friend of mine. Please give it a round of applause. Me and Shakila comes a long way. I'm not going to waste a lot of time to talk about it. She has touched on it. She always talk about me and saying, Sam, you are my inspiration. And I would say back, you also inspires me. So I'm very grateful to be here and be part of this beautiful program that we are co-hosting or program directing today. This morning, I would like to welcome everyone who is in this house today and say you look beautiful. Nibahle. Please give yourself a round of applause. And I want to say to everyone who is attending around the world, welcome to South Africa, because you are with us today. And we are in a beautiful city of Durban. This is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. We've got beautiful beaches, we've got beautiful scenery, we've got beautiful people with beautiful cultures, and there's no other place that we can celebrate such a beautiful gathering than here in Africa, in South Africa. As we continue this program, we'd like to welcome everyone into this landmark program which brings together pioneers, practitioners, policymakers, and end users to champion this growth and standardization of the audio description across African continent. Over the 2 days, colleagues and delegates, we will explore transformative power of the audio description in enhancing accessibility in film, tourism, arts, education, and technology. And as you could see when there was a performance here, I was actually whispering to Shakila and saying, you know, I'm amazed. I've worked with the school in Naik, and always when I work with these students, I get so emotional because they are able to portray what we can't actually even do sometimes as the people who can hear. And they were dancing to the sounds when they cannot necessarily hear like we do. So it's a very important gathering, and it's very emotional to see this coming together. And what a successful program, thanks to you, Shakila, and the team. So through this insightful panel discussions, there will be interactive roundtables in the next 2 days and the networking opportunities. So you shouldn't just come here and only just attend, but make sure you are networking with whoever that is next to you. Make sure you are making contact and make sure you are doing projects together. So we also aim to foster collaboration, and you will also remember that when we work together, we can do so much more. We will share the best practices and collectively forge paths towards a more inclusive and accessibility media landscape to all people who are here in Africa and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be here from today and tomorrow. It's going to be an exciting 2 days as we are starting this program right now until the evening, which is going to be a glittering with a nice ceremony in the afternoon. I hope you are ready for that one. So right now we are going to start a program which that will be done by different people coming from different spaces, but I'm just going to highlight this. On day one today, now, we're going to have a first program, which we have a panel, a facilitator, who is Dr. Joel Snyder. This first panel will be looking at the film. I'm coming from that space, and it's very exciting to know there's going to be a lot of discussions which are going to be looking at different spaces around the filmmaking. And also we're going to have a second panel that is going to look at the tourism, arts, and culture. That will be the second panel, which is going to be led by Mr. Jeremy Opperman. And also we will have then on the third panel discussion, we'll be looking at the performing arts and the real-time AD audio description. That one is going to be facilitated by our lovely Deborah Ewing. And then the last one is going to be done in the afternoon. It's a panel discussion that is going to be looking at education and publication, still images, and I think that one will be done by Mr. Dian Moodley from South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, before I leave, I made a mistake. I didn't do the description on how I look. I am a well-endowed lady, African lady, who's got a black hat, which is an African hat, the Zulu hat. It's so beautiful, like me. And I'm wearing a black long dress with a bit of some buttons which are gold, and I've got a nice top on the top which is embroidered or done in a color of a leopard, so I really look like an African queen, and I'm very excited to be with you. So I'm not going to spoil your time whilst we engage each other on these panels. Let's enjoy this beautiful day, and we'll see you as we continue the program. Thank you very much.
Excellent, excellent. So could we please call Mpumi? Mpumi will just share a few words from tourism and film. Mpumi, are you here?
Okay. Mpumi is coming up the stairs. She also opted to wear like me. She's also on a leopard shirt and a black pants. So we look like twins. It's just that she's not well endowed. She looks like a model with a nice model body. Come over, Mpumi. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you very much for that introduction. It's humbling. Before I do my short address, can I request that we flight that destination video, please?
A panorama of a grassy field with foggy mountains ahead, followed by expansive snowy terrain. Two people ride quad bikes down a dirt path, then a paraglider in midair. The words Drakensberg Experience on a banner. A luxurious boutique hotel with a pink flamingo float in the pool. Horseback riders trot in tall grass. A woman harnessed in a big swing rises into the blue sky. Maletsonyane waterfall cascades down a rock face. The KZN Tourism and Film Authority logo. Magical Zulu Kingdom.
Thank you so much. We've had that edited just to be shorter and audio described so that everyone is able to interact with it. But basically, it's meant to entice you on what KwaZulu-Natal as a tourism destination has to offer. As indicated by the program director, I am Ngubane. I'm with the KwaZulu-Natal Tourism and Film Authority within the Convention Bureau, and our role as the entity is to promote KwaZulu-Natal as a tourism destination for film production, for leisure, for business tourism. And we are really excited to be part of this engagement today. today, the inaugural audio description symposium. Through the passion and determination of Shakila, we are here today, and we really are excited to be part of it as the destination, because this speaks to a market that has been sort of overlooked and not really been given attention. And with this conference and symposium, we believe that it is a start of greater initiatives that government of KwaZulu-Natal and nationally can do to support the growth of the sector across the key economic sectors that we have as a province. I think for us, I saw young people here, the learners that were performing earlier, and it was quite inspirational to see the need that is out there for making, our economic sectors inclusive for any individual with any limitations. Just looking at them, thinking what other opportunities they may have missed because of the limitations that they may have. We believe that this symposium is going to be the start of opening new doors in what else can we play? What role can we play as government to make sure that we open up opportunities, we make opportunities accessible for everyone and inclusive for everyone. We are here throughout the conference, and we are here to support you. If there are any issues of clarity that you may want to take up with us when it comes to either destination profiling in terms of tourism, in terms of film productions, in terms of culture and heritage, in terms of business tourism, we are here to support you. So please do engage with us, and we wish you a successful engagement throughout the 2 days of your stay in this conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mpumi. Is she gone?
She's just gone down.
Oh. All right. I want to add quickly, KZN, which was previously called KZN Film Commission, now they merged with tourism and they became KZN Tourism and Film. They were the first in the country to recognize that we had to include persons with disabilities. They were the first to create a disability policy that includes audio description. They were the first to come up with a strategy with targets for audio description. They were the first to partner with an organization like ourselves in ensuring that today we have over 60 local productions audio described. So with KZN Tourism and Film, and with now moving into tourism, and you experienced a very small example of a 30-second video which was described, we will now be able to advance audio description in tourism. Okay, so now I want to introduce our highlight. Oh my God. So we have here among us Dr. Joel Snyder. Please, can I have a round of applause? Dr. Joel Snyder is from Washington, D.C., considered the father of audio description. He has started out several decades ago, and to date, he has described thousands of films. He has initiated and given rise to description across all sectors: tourism, commerce, live description, even the inaugurations of the presidents of the USA. He is the voice of Santa Claus in Washington on the radio station. When you hear his booming voice, you'll recognize him. We are so blessed. I first came across Dr. Joel Snyder in 2009, and I was sold. I trained under him, and that's when I came back to South Africa and started to drive description. The man, as big as his reputation is, has a heart that's even bigger. He came in 2012 at his own cost, lived among us in our homes, and helped me spread the word across the country. In less than 3 weeks, we trained over 100 audio describers. Today, some of them are our competition. I am so happy to say, and I welcome that. Today, many of them are our describers. So, Joel, I can't say enough that will exemplify who you are. But I want to call you up and say that it is with such great privilege and honor and love that we bring you here today onto the stage to share with us your words on audio description as you deliver the keynote address. Thank you, Joel. And with Joel, we've got to learn who the leadership is throughout the world. Thank you for that, Joel.
Thank you, Shakila. Let me give you a hug. Mwah. Oh. What a glowing introduction. I don't know who she was talking about. I got to meet that guy. I'm inspired by Dr. Sam's description of herself, so I will describe myself. I'm a middle-aged white man with a receding hairline. Oh, all right, it has receded, okay? And I have a beard, a black and white, well, white and gray beard that extends to a mustache and covers a multitude of chins. Anyway, it is wonderful to be back in South Africa. Description has come along such a long way, certainly in the 45 years I've been working with description, but just even more recently, in fact, I don't know, Shaquille, I mentioned this to you, but on the flight in yesterday from Dubai, I was sitting next to a young man, and I noticed he was watching a film, and he paused it, and I could tell it was a film called September 5th, about the horrible attack on the Israeli Olympic wrestling team at the Munich Olympics. And I said, I know that film. And so it was paused, so I was chatting with the fellow next to me, and I said, you ever heard of something called audio description? And he, no, what is that? Audio description. And I explained it briefly. I said, but you know what? I think I can show you what it's about. Let me just adjust the settings on your screen there. And I turned on the audio description, and he listened to it for a minute. He said, that's amazing. That makes the images accessible to people who are blind. And I said, exactly. And do you recognize the fellow who was voicing that description? Did you recognize his voice? And he paused. He's trying to think of, I don't know, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, movie stars. No, it was me, of course. Just happened to be playing on Emirates Airlines coming in from yesterday. So, and I remember, I remember 15 years ago working with the airlines to get it started. And now it's on every airline offers audio description, which is really quite wonderful. This is all about audio description, making visual images accessible to people who are blind. On the screen right now, actually, I have a lot of text. How do you make text accessible to people who can't see it for whatever reason? Well, you voice it aloud. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to practice what I preach. Audio Description Associates, LLC, the Visual Made Verbal, presents Audio Description, If Your Eyes Could Speak, with Joel Snyder, PhD, President, Audio Description Associates, LLC, Founding Director Emeritus of the Audio Description Project, ACB, American Council of the Blind. Audio Description in Africa Symposium 2025. I don't think anybody's described the logo for the symposium, an outline of the continent of Africa, superimposed on it, an ear, and within the ear, the letters A and D, and curved lines emanating from the left. Monday, October 13th, 2025, American Audio Description symbol. There's another image for you. The audio description logo that's used pretty much around the world now, a white square within which are two letters, an A and a D in bold black type. The left side of that A is tilted just a bit to the right, And to the right of the curve in the D, 3 curved lines. Period. Why do I say period? Because I've found that sometimes beginning describers, they're so wonderfully eager to convey everything that's on the screen, which is not possible, of course, and they want to explain everything that's on the screen. So they might add something like, oh, they represent sound waves. Well, that's true. But there's nothing on the screen that says that for sighted people. Why would you include that information for an audience of people who can't see or can't see well? No, at best, it's unnecessary. At worst, it could even seem patronizing or condescending, as though you think a person who's blind, even congenitally blind from birth, wouldn't have encountered in their life curved lines representing sound waves. Sure they would. Sure they would. So here's the key. We describe, we don't necessarily explain. We show, we don't tell. And I'll come back to that in just a moment. So there you have just a little bit about audio description and a little bit about our principal audience for audio description as well. You know, since prehistoric times, description has been employed quite regularly, if not professionally, by companions and family of people who are blind or have low vision, and even by politicians. Let me see if I can call up this next slide here. Let's see if I can do it. Go ahead and give me the next slide there. There you go. Pictured on this slide is Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia of New York in the 1940s. It's a black and white image of a man, somewhat portly, seated at a table, a shock of dark hair over his ample forehead, wearing horn-rimmed glasses. He's got a double-breasted suit on and tie. He's holding in his hands a sheaf of papers, in his right hand a pen, and to his left a microphone that says WNYC, Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia, New York City, 1940s. You may know LaGuardia Airport, named for him. Well, he practiced description, although he may not have realized he was doing so, really. During his tenure, there was a newspaper strike that was of great concern to New York residents. Think of it, there was no internet. You got your information from the radio or from the newspaper, and there was a newspaper strike. Well, savvy Mayor LaGuardia, he didn't take the side of the publishers. He didn't take the side of the workers. No, he took to the side of the people of New York. He went on the radio on WNYC every Sunday and gave the people what they were missing, the comics. The comics, that's the first part of the newspaper you turn to on Sunday, right? And he read the comics to everybody in New York City on the radio, and of course interrupted the text with colorful descriptions of the cartoon images. He just sort of intuitively knew he had to do that. He was on the radio. He couldn't show the pictures. And by the way, it was in the 1970s when I read the Sunday Washington Post for listeners of the Metropolitan Washington Ear, a radio reading service in Washington, D.C. Blind people could listen to the daily newspaper. And I found myself being just like Mayor LaGuardia on Sundays, reading the comics and describing images and describing photographs and such. But there was no such thing as audio description. It had not been formalized. It had not had best practices developed. More about the Washington Ear in a moment, but you know, people often compare description to radio theater. They're both oral conveyances of narrative material. But the essential difference, though, is that radio theater assumes all listeners have no access to the visual. Consequently, visual elements are conveyed primarily by sound effects created by a Foley man creating those effects. Television, on the other hand, assumes all patrons can see. Audio description fills in the gap that's created when the default audience is an individual with 5 senses. I think audio description is more precisely compared to the play-by-play offered by sports announcers on radio broadcasts. My friend Jeremy from Cape Town is nodding his head. Again, the assumption is that all listeners are blind, while the sound of the game may be in the background. The commentator has to describe visual elements to make the game accessible to his listeners. Back to America. The next slide, please. Go ahead and give me the next slide, because my clicker doesn't want to do it, I don't think. There we go. Thank you. Here's another politician for you. Another black and white image of a very young Ronald Reagan. Former President Ronald Reagan, early in his career, was a sports announcer offering play-by-play of Chicago Cubs baseball games, even while he was in a studio in Chicago, but it was an away game for the Cubs. Now, how could he do that? Well, he actually remembers how he delivered these play-by-play broadcasts of a game that he wasn't even looking at. He'd never seen it. His flawless recitations were based solely on telegraph accounts of the game in progress. See, he smoothly improvised a fictional play-by-play. He had one player hit a foul, and then another player hit another foul. Takes up time, right? Then he had that foul one, only missed by a home run by 1 foot, right? And then he says, I had him foul one back in the stands, and then I described 2 lads in the stands in a fight over the ball. None of this was actually happening, except in Ronald Reagan's imagination. He managed to describe what wasn't happening in order to give a sense of what was happening to his listeners. Now, obviously, audio describers have to be faithful to what can be seen. But the difference between a narrative that will conjure images and one that doesn't is often the skilled use of language and the imagination of the describer, just like Deborah Ewing did for you just a little bit ago, and did it extemporaneously, one of the most difficult kinds of genres of description, if you will. So audio description has a place wherever the visual image is important to the experience of the event. As Shakila so kindly mentioned, I've produced, written, and voiced description for thousands of arts events, theater, dance, opera, film, feature films, nationally broadcast television, streaming media, and now dozens of museum exhibitions. But you know what? I've also described office meetings. I've described award ceremonies. As Shakila mentioned, presidential inaugurals. I've described parades, rodeos, all kinds of sporting events. I've described weddings. And I've even described funerals. Wherever the visual image has some import and meaning for the people in attendance. Another slide, if you will. I've even described ceremonies at the White House. Pictured here is President Barack Obama on the right, shaking hands with an audio describer. My goodness, that's me. I guess I had about 20 pounds more of me there or something, I don't know. But that's at the White House. During President Obama's first and second term primarily, we described White House events. I described, actually made accessible a tour of the White House. I don't know if you can do that in South Africa. Can you visit the home of your president? I don't think so. Not too many countries do that. Well, you can in Washington. You can go to the public areas of the White House, and they have a tour, but it has always been self-guided. You just follow a track through it. Wonderful thing, unless you're blind. And we developed, with the American Council of the Blind, an audio-described tour, had it recorded on little MP3 players, remember those? And people could actually experience on their own the White House, the audio description, all the visual images that were there. And most importantly, actually, under Mr. Obama's second term, the United States passed the 21st Century Communications and Video Accessibility Act, which for the first time mandated description for broadcast television. Had never been done before by law. Captioning? Oh yeah, captioning, we have 100% of programs are captioned for folks who are deaf, but even still today, less than 1% of all broadcast media is described, because we didn't build in that increase into the law. Hopefully we will. The next slide is blank, I think, that's fine. It was in 1980 when a blind woman, and I stress the importance of people who are blind in the development of and creation of audio description, a blind woman, Margaret Fansteel, and a blind man, Chet Avery, sat on an access committee to advise a theater company, Arena Stage, in Washington, D.C., on ways to make theater accessible. Much of the focus in those days, of course, was on access for people who use wheelchairs, as well as the use of a brand new electronic development. This was new, 1980, an assisted listening system for people who have hearing loss. It's everywhere now. All movie theaters have them. You know, it boosts the sound. Well, Margaret and Chet, they're blind, and they're on the committee, and they wondered, you know, if the sound equipment, it just involves a microphone on the stage, couldn't it be used with a second channel, another microphone, by somebody off stage, voicing, descriptions of action during the play, in the pauses between bits and pieces of dialogue or critical sound elements? Well, again, Margaret founded the Metropolitan Washington Ear, that radio reading service that I worked for in the 70s, for people who are blind or anybody who didn't otherwise have access to print. And I'd already been there about 10 years doing the comics. I was a professional actor and voice talent and English teacher. So Margaret realized she has the capacity to do this thing that they were sort of musing about. Arena said, go for it. Let's give it a try. Well, Margaret came back and she grabbed me and a few others, and the world's first audio description service was born. It premiered in April of 1981 at an Arena Stage performance of Shaw's Major Barbara, and now hundreds of theaters throughout the United States produce described performances. And by the way, I did a survey with the World Blind Union several years back. Over 70 countries now have audio description for live performance, media, and museum. Yes, thank you, Shaquila. You bet. I have to give a nod to Shaquila, though, because, you know, I was here, as she mentioned, in 2012 to train describers in 3 cities, Durban and Cape Town and Johannesburg. And in 2014, my PhD dissertation was published as a book, The Visual Made Verbal, with a preface by Dr. William Rowland, the former head of the South African Blind Union and former president of the World Blind Union, a leading proponent. So lots of connections to South Africa, and indeed, Shaquila, the founder of ShazaCin, produced 80 in English since that time, and in Zulu, and conveying description professionals from around the world like events like this. In 2009, working with the American Council of the Blind, I founded its audio description project, which I just want to give a plug to, basically. All kinds of initiatives there. Description training, twice a year, now all online. Description conferences, awards for leading describers, young audio description consumers, kids who are blind, can write reviews of described videos, and we look at them and we give the kids prizes and their teachers. It's called BADI, Benefits of Audio Description in Education, and we do that with a great program in the US called the Described and Captioned Media Program. Our website is greatly expanded, https://adp.acb.org. And indeed, I think I have that website on the next slide. There we go. You can take a picture of that puppy, adp.acb.org. So enough with history, and I'm bringing you a little bit of the United States and audio description. I want to share with you some thoughts and described video that I hope will highlight the importance of audio description as an access tool. The next slide, please, has a definition of audio description on it. I think of description as a literary art form. It's about words. I'll narrow that a bit. It's a kind of poetry, I think. In fact, I'll narrow it further. It's a haiku. I say haiku because I believe it uses as few words as possible to provide a verbal version of the visual. The visual is made verbal and oral, A-U-R-A-L, he points to his ear, and oral, O-R-A-L, he points to his mouth. We use description to convey the visual image that's not fully accessible to a segment of the population. The American Foundation for the Blind in the US now says there are over 32 million Americans who are blind or have difficulty seeing, even with correction. That's 8% of the population. It's got to be the same here in South Africa. Add to that their friends, their families. Add to that people on the autism spectrum. Add to that people with ADHD. Add to that people with a love of language. They learn new vocabulary. They hear synonyms and similes. They expand their awareness of literacy. And of course, it's for everybody else too. It's for everybody else because, sighted people who see, but we don't observe. It helps sighted people too. Indeed, I oftentimes say audio description is great for a blind person, but it's great for a sighted person when you're in the kitchen making a sandwich and the TV is on in the living room, right? You don't miss a beat because you can hear what you can't see. Well, let me take another couple of minutes and help you see what description is all about by asking you figuratively to close your eyes. You don't have to close your eyes because I'm going to close them for you. I'm going to play on the next slide here. I'm going to play a short excerpt from a major motion picture, The Color of Paradise, an Iranian film about 20 years old or so. I'm just not going to show you the image. I'm going to play the original soundtrack. I want you to experience it as a totally blind person would have in the movie theater back in 1999, something like that or so. Go ahead and click on that there. Let's see what you can glean by listening only.
Muhammad kneels and taps his hands through the thick ground cover of brown curled leaves. A scrawny nestling struggles on the ground near Muhammad's hand. His palm hovers above the baby bird. He lays his hand lightly over the tiny creature. Smiling, Muhammad curls his fingers around the chick and scoops it into his hands. He stands and strokes its nearly featherless head with a fingertip. Muhammad starts as the bird nips his finger. He taps his finger on the chick's gaping beak. He tilts his head back, then drops it forward. Muhammad tips the chick into his front shirt pocket. Wrapping his legs and arms around a tree trunk, Muhammad climbs. He latches onto a tangle of thin upper branches. His legs flail for a foothold. Muhammad stretches an arm between a fork in the trunk of the tree and wedges in his head and shoulder. His shoes slip on the rough bark. He wraps his legs around the lower trunk, then uses his arms to pull himself higher. He rises into thicker foliage and holds onto tangles of smaller branches. Gaining his footing, Muhammad stands upright and cocks his head to one side. An adult bird flies from a nearby branch. Muhammad extends his open hand. He touches a branch and runs his fingers over wide green leaves. He pats his hand down the length of the branch. His fingers trace the smooth bark of the upper branches, search the network of connecting tree limbs, and discover their joints. Above his head, Muhammad's fingers find a dense mass of woven twigs, a bird's nest. Smiling, he removes the chick from his shirt pocket and drops it gently into the nest beside another fledgling. He rubs the top of the chick's head with his index finger. Muhammad wiggles his finger like a worm and taps the chick's open beak. Smiling, he slowly lowers his hand.
Oh, isn't that nice? Oh, yeah. You know, and I will ask people, well, you know, this was an excerpt from the middle of the film, so Muhammad, he'd already been described, his visage, what he looks like. Now, you heard he's wearing a shirt with a pocket, and he has shoes on. He has pants on, too. I've seen the film. You know, but what can you tell me just listening to the description of Muhammad and his surroundings and the bird and the tree? What do you know about Muhammad? And folks will say, well, he's a young boy. He can climb a tree. He's empathetic. He likes animals. That sort of thing. And I say, yeah, all of that's true. But now I'm going to grant sight to everybody in the room, if you had sight to begin with when you walked in, because I'm going to play the same excerpt for you with the image, with the original soundtrack, with the audio described track, and I think in about 15 seconds you might be surprised. Can you do the video? Next slide.
Muhammad kneels and taps his hands through the thick ground cover of brown, curled leaves. A scrawny nestling struggles on the ground near Muhammad's hand. His palm hovers above the baby bird. He lays his hand lightly over the tiny creature. Smiling, Muhammad curls his fingers around the chick and scoops it into his hands. He stands and strokes its nearly featherless head with a fingertip.
Muhammad is blind.
Muhammad starts as the bird nips his finger. He taps his finger on the chick's gaping beak. He tilts his head back, then drops it forward. Muhammad tips the chick into his front shirt pocket. Wrapping his legs and arms around a tree trunk, Muhammad climbs. He latches onto a tangle of thin upper branches. His legs flail for a foothold. Muhammad stretches an arm between a fork in the trunk of the tree and wedges in his head and shoulder. His shoes slip on the rough bark. He wraps his legs around the lower trunk, then uses his arms to pull himself higher. He rises into thicker foliage and holds onto tangles of smaller branches. Gaining his footing, Muhammad stands upright and cocks his head to one side. An adult bird flies from a nearby branch. Muhammad extends his open hand. He touches a branch and runs his fingers over wide green leaves. He pats his hand down the length of the branch. His fingers trace the smooth bark of the upper branches, search the network of connecting tree limbs, and discover their joints. Above his head, Muhammad's fingers find a dense mass of woven twigs, a bird's nest. Smiling, he removes the chick from his shirt pocket and drops it gently into the nest beside another fledgling. He rubs the top of the chick's head with his index finger. Muhammad wiggles his finger like a worm and taps the chick's open beak. Smiling, he slowly lowers his hand.
And what I've got for you now briefly is the audio description script, but it's annotated to bring out just a few points about how we create audio description so it's most effective. The next slide, at the very beginning, Muhammad kneels and taps his hands through the thick ground cover of brown curled leaves. Brown curled leaves, what does that tell you? What does that show you? Autumn. Of course. We don't tell you it's autumn. We show you it's autumn. And color has been shown to be important to people with low vision, even people who are congenitally blind. Color has meaning beyond just the hue or frequency of light. I often say, in the U.S., green means money. because all our currency is green. Anyway, moving on, there's some gasping and chirping for just 2 seconds, and then we come right in. Timing is critical in the crafting of description because we weave descriptive language around the film's sound elements. We don't get in the way of them. We weave around them. At the bottom of the page, he curls his fingers around the chick and scoops it into his hands. He doesn't grab it. He doesn't pick it up. He scoops it. Vivid verbs conjure images in the mind's eye. Next screen. He taps his finger on the chick's gaping beak. He tilts his head back, then drops it forward. Muhammad tips the chick into his front shirt pocket. Taps, tilts, tips. Description, like much poetry, again, is written to be heard. Alliteration can add variety and help to maintain interest. Next slide. This is important. Lots of things are going on. You cannot describe everything. You have to choose what to describe and then choose the best language to use in your description. Well, there's an adult bird flies from a nearby branch and you hardly see it. It flutters by, but it's important to include that image because the bird returns in the next scene, an adult bird, like a bit of foreshadowing on the part of the director. And then finally, he rubs the top of the chick's head with his index finger, not his pinky, not his thumb. Be specific. Precision creates images. And then at the very end, he wiggles his finger like a worm. Like a worm. That's a simile. And I think similes paint pictures. And what's kind of cool is that there's no worm there. We often talk about saying what we see, and that's so true, especially with regard to objectivity. But sometimes you need to use your imagination, like Ronald Reagan did, right? And say things that aren't there in order to help people see what is there. Yeah. Similes, painting pictures. And just to wrap up, you know, in all of the arts, excellence in audio description requires, again, that creative, that imaginative spark. With description, it involves language, and we're all capable of developing that facility with language. Let me show you an example. The next slide. This is the way a young girl is able to describe an image vividly, but not for someone who's blind. This is a clip from The Book Thief, a movie about 1940s Germany, and a young man, a poet, is being hidden in the basement of a house for his own good. And the windows have been blacked out so no one can see in. But of course, he can't see out. He's a poet, you know, and in the home there's an 11-year-old girl who's really interested in languages. And she visits him every day, and here's what happens. There's a chalkboard in the room. Here's what happens one day when she pays him a visit.
Henry, where do you get these words?
It's a secret.
And who would I tell? Can you do me a favor? Can you describe the day for me? What's it like outside?
It's cloudy.
No. Make the words yours. If your eyes could speak, what would they say?
It's a pale day.
Pale. Good, go on.
Everything's stuck behind a cloud. And the sun doesn't look like the sun.
What does it look like?
Like a silver oyster.
Thank you. I saw that.
He grins, leans his head back, points to his head, closes his eyes. I saw that. A silver oyster to describe the sun behind clouds. That's using imagination. That's using description of something that's not there to help someone see what is there. Let me close by emphasizing an important point. There's just no reason, no good reason, why a person with a visual disability must also be culturally disadvantaged. No. You know, I came here just last week. I spent in Zagreb, Croatia, at the Blind in Theater Festival. These are theater companies from about 5 different countries, not all, but mostly composed by blind actors. I've also done description with Nalagat, the Israeli deaf-blind theater company in Tel Aviv. My point is, blind people as actors, how does an actor decide they want to be an actor? They grow up going to theater when they're young. Now, if there's no audio description, that makes life kind of tough. So we're encouraging people to take on audio description or theater as employment, as an act of employment. And today, blind folks make some of the best script consultants, some of the best describers themselves with accommodation. They are some of the best voice talents and some of the best audio editors for audio description. So lots of ways to be employed, but still in the United States, the principal constituency for audio description has an unemployment rate of about 70%. 70. I imagine that's comparable here in South Africa, and that's unacceptable. No, I like to think that with more meaningful access to culture and its resources, people become more informed. They become more engaged with society. Maybe they become more engaging individuals, and perhaps that means more employable. Finally, the next slide is just my contact information. I'll be here all day today and all day tomorrow. My website, audiodescribe.com. My email address, if you want to reach out, jsnyder@audiodescribe.com. And there's my book, The Visual Made Verbal, Comprehensive Training Manual and Guide to the History and Applications of Audio Description. It's available in Braille, I'm pleased to say, by the Library of Congress, as an audio book also by the Library of Congress, and in print now in 7 languages, English, Spanish, Portuguese, Polish, Russian, Chinese, and Italian, maybe even Croatian. I talked to some people last week about that. Thank you, Shakila, and thank you all for listening.
Okay, wasn't he wonderful? Wow, that was very mind-blowing and mind-opening, and I think this is really a history that has just been made this morning to have you here and take us through this beautiful program. I'm going to hand into Shakila.
Actually, we're moving straight into our first panel discussion. So, Dr. Joel, I'm not sure where you're going to be seated.
We're going to get some help moving chairs back onto the platform.
Okay.
And then we'll begin.
All right, so let me quickly explain. And actually this is, how do I say it? It's a hybrid event, which means we are working both online and here in person. And we've got some of the best persons around the world who are specializing in description. Joel is now going to facilitate the session on film. And I think one of the most evident things coming out of these sessions is you're going to realize the gap. And by the gap, I mean how little we've got in South Africa. And by the gap, I mean how much there is already out there in expertise and diversity of description. And by the end of these sessions, we got to fill that gap. All right, and that's the purpose. So now I'm going to hand it over to Joel, and we're going to have, Joel will explain who the panelists are. Joel, are you going to be able to do that? Sure. And we should have 2 persons here, Joel.
Yes, I think so, 2 or 3 in person.
AB and Eubulus.
Yes. Where is AB? Where is AB? There he is. All right, come on up here on the stage. And Eubulus, there he is. I'll be introducing them. Yes, right.
Can I go sit now, guys?
Yes, you can go sit now, guys. Sure. Okay, we're getting a couple of handheld mics here. Oh, good. Thank you so much. There we go. All right. Our first panel of the symposium is all about film and media, which is so important. It all started in performing arts. But I knew even back then that as soon as audio description took off for television and film, and do you remember back in the day, video cassettes? You remember those? Oh, AB, you're not old enough to remember. Okay. VHS, Betacam, that's right. So we have a distinguished panel of folks to talk about media and audio description. Online, we've got Bernd Benecke from Germany, a very dear friend, head of audio description at Bayerischer Rundfunk, and author of audio description as partial translation, model and method. He's online. Rick Boggs is with us. Rick Boggs is a seminal individual in the development of audio description, totally blind, but president and founder of Audio Eyes. He's a blind audio description production specialist, and he is responsible, I believe, single-handedly for developing software that enables blind people to be audio editors. So Rick is with us from the United States in Los Angeles, where it's very early in the morning. From Japan, we have Aya Kawamura, who's a civil engineer and information accessibility advocate, and she will be translating and helping us speak with Chihoko Hiratsuka, founder of AD Cinema, Trupki Tabata, Tokyo. And she's an AD producer and creator and trainer. And I think we might even have her image on screen for us, perhaps a short video. Then we're going to go to Ireland. We have Sharon Gill with us, the head of Telegale, subtitling and audio description and captioning, a great company that spreads accessibility throughout Ireland. A.B. Moosa is right here live and in person from South Africa, the CEO of the Avalon Group. And he specializes in content distribution and exhibition, getting the films out there. And we work closely with people like A.B. to make sure those films are accessible. And then finally, let's see, yes, Eubulus is with us, live and in person from South Africa also.
Audio now unmuted.
Yes, same to you. What was that?
Sam Cuswing has left the meeting.
Hold on a second. Eubulus Timothy is an award-winning writer, director, producer of film and television, producer of Deep End. When did that happen, Eubulus? That was... Well, not 1718, I don't think. That's even before my time. 2017, 2018, there you go. And from Nigeria, Austen Obioha, he is the lead for multilingual content and dubbing at a company in Nigeria. So that's the panel. Let me, thank you.
Thank you.
We're getting the mic over there to our guests that are here and in person. But let me ask my good friend Bernd Benecke. Bernd, are you online there with us?
Yes, I am. I just had to switch on my mic. I hope you can hear me.
Wonderful. Your face is filling a huge screen in front of several hundred people. I introduced Bernd to you. Tell me, Bernd, to what extent do you produce audio description for film versus television broadcasts in Germany?
What do you mean? The whole amount of films we describe, or do you mean the difference between TV or cinema?
Sure. How much cinema, how much television do you do?
Well, the main thing, of course, is cinema. We are broadcaster, we are regional broadcaster, BR is Bavarian Broadcasting, and we are part of a nationwide network called the ARD, and we do a lot of description mainly for linear TV, but also for our own online services, which brings everything that was on air into online services. And sometimes, yes, we are called producers for something that goes first into cinema, and so we do the description for the cinema, which then of course is transmitted through an app, and then we do the mixing so we can go on to streaming and to DVD and Blu-ray and later on to broadcasting. Yes.
You do it all.
Mainly, yeah, we are a broadcaster mainly. Yeah.
Great. Now, I'm curious, in your position, which is such an important one for media accessibility in Germany, how do you promote the use of audio description among audio description consumers? You know, audio description is only as good as the extent to which people know about it, know to use it. What do you do in Germany to make sure people know about it?
Well, we have one way you may think it's a little bit like old-fashioned. It's a mailing list. It's a mailing list of blind users who just share their experience, the questions about audio description, and we bring on what we offer on TV, on DVD, on streaming, and we highlight some things that we think that they should listen to, and we ask them for feedback, and they're allowed to criticize, of course, and to say nice words if something happened that they really liked.
That's great.
And it's quite good. There are a few thousand blind people in this mailing list, and we get a lot of response, and we really love that.
Wonderful.
The other thing, of course, we have this all on our home pages, but the main source, I think, for blind and visually impaired people is a homepage or an app done by the Blind Union, Germany's Blind Union. They have a known homepage on audio description, which gives information, where's description in theaters, in museums, on TV, in streaming, and all this. And this, of course, we are very forced to bring our stuff into this website because we know there is where we get the people. That's great. That's great. Yeah, ironically, audio description suffers from lack of visibility, and especially among the general public. The general public, people know about captions, they see captions. But audio description, you have to turn it on and hear it separately. So we've got a job to do there. Here's a great question, I think, for Bernd, because you are known, I think, worldwide, and Bayerischer Rundfunk, for your use of audio description consumers in the development of your audio description scripts. Tell us about that, because not every audio description producer does that. No, true. When we started, I have to admit, when we started 30 years ago, we always had a team.
To everyone. Audio has an echo descent.
Okay, we had always had a team of 3 sighted and 1 blind person, and they were developing the text, the scripts together. I have to admit now, with a bunch of things to do, with a lot of series to do, a lot of things are written now by only one sighted person, but when it goes to revising the script, we have 1 blind guy who is included and does the revising together with a sighted person, and he's the one who's the director when it goes into the studio, into the sound booth, and he will direct the recording, the editing, and the mixing.
That's
what
fantastic.
We don't have, I heard before that there are people blind people who voice description. We never had that before, and we don't have blind audio editors. That would be something if we can, have that one day. There you go. Talk about employment for people who are blind. As content consumers, they are quality control experts. They are the writers. They are the voice talents. They are the editors. Speaking of audio description consumers as working in the field, Rick Boggs, my very dear friend, is a producer and a consumer of audio description from Los Angeles. He runs Audio Eyes. I want to hear it from you, Rick, right? Nothing about us without us.
discuss
No.
the value of having consumers
It's
work
overall.
on the development of the script. Yeah, really. He fell asleep.
How about now? Try now. Test.
There you are, Rick. Hi,
That's it, got
yes.
All right, very good.
You're
Yep.
being applauded in Durban, South Africa. Did you hear the question, Rick? How just
I
discuss?
did. No, I've been paying attention since the beginning. Yep, I'm right up to date with you. And by the way, a fine and masterful presentation, Joel.
Thank you.
Your years and years of repetition doing this and refining what you do, it definitely still shows that you can refine and be more effective as you go along. I was really appreciated it. Good job.
Thank you. Well, I want to hear about what you do with AD consumers as in the development of audio description scripts.
All right. It's to me, it's kind of intuitive, but I think to people who produce media, producers, writers, video editors, they assume sort of, if they even think about how a blind person might interact with their program at all, and most people don't, but they've got a blind uncle, so now they think about it. And their instincts about what description should be or not be, as I think most sighted people's instincts about that, are really terrible and unfortunately nakedly reveal their ignorance. I think what's the most important thing for any audio describer is, and I think most never achieve it, by the way, but the best, let me put it another way. The very best audio describers are those who learn by working with blind professionals,
right,
who learn, what do the blind people already know? I was watching TV and films before description was ever done, you know, despite the misconception that blind people never watched films or television. We did. There were some programs we didn't get, we couldn't follow, or I thought I didn't like certain genre because they had so much accent scenes and music that I couldn't understand what was going on. It wasn't as entertaining, but we watched it. But you can discern. There's a reason that Hollywood spends, you know, a fortune on Foley and sound effects and orchestral scores, and an audio describer who really is out of touch, which, if they're honest, they start out being completely out of touch because they're not blind. With how much really can a blind person discern before you ever start to describe anything? And I say you take that first, because you don't have much room for description, as you pointed out, Joel. Sure. You won't be able to describe everything. So, and you've got limited space. You can't talk over the dialogue if we're working with, well, you can't talk over the dialogue, period. So why use any of your description time telling me something that I already know? But a lot of describers, you know, they have no sense of what I pick up or don't pick up from the mood of the music. They always want to describe emotions, but what's the music there for? So they'll tell me that a person's it's dark at night. A dark figure walks on leaves outside a house. Well, I hear the crickets chirping. I hear the footsteps crunching on the leaves. I watched a movie called Departed, and without any description. It was difficult, but I followed it all the way to the end. Even at the end, when the person approached the house and cut a glass window and reached in and opened the window and let themselves in the house, and I hear listening just by this Foley. I love great sound effects, great Foley, because they tell the story. I knew what was happening. I really did. The only problem was, and it's the final scene of the film, there are two villains, two gangsters, who are trying to kill each other the entire movie. And the whole suspense is who's going to kill who, right? So I don't know who it is going through the window. And I hear a gun, and then I hear a gunshot go off. And then you hear the final music and the credits scroll. And I'm like, but who shot who?
Right, yeah.
So anyway.
You know, I love that, Rick.
Person,
things like the door closes. Boom. You know, oh, yeah. What was it? Yeah. What else would it be?
Yeah.
The gun fires.
Exactly. The only thing that you can add to it is if there's two people in the room and you hear the sound effect, you can tell me who closed the door.
There you go.
But if there's one person in the room, Joel stands in a room by himself. He turns toward the door. and then you hear the door handle, you hear the door close, and you hear him walking his footsteps after that, you know he exited, right?
Yeah.
So really
great.
skilled audio describers understand what I already know, and they focus on the things that are least obvious to me. What would I never imagine would be on the screen, right? When we describe award shows, it always bothers me. And the winner is Joel Snyder. And then the describer says, Joel Snyder stands up and walks to the podium. It's like, I could have told you that, right? Of course, no, he's going to sit in the audience and wait till someone drags him up there. I mean, unless something unusual happens, there are things that a blind person can assume from what they hear. So having a blind professional work with an audio description team.
It's so critical.
And when I started...
you're right. I mean,
when I started...
It's a critical perspective from not just because they're blind, but because they're blind and they know about audio description. They've studied
this is the thing.
They've
You can't
experienced
just
it.
grab, blind people from anywhere off the street who've heard maybe one program and make them your quality expert. They have to understand the description process, how it works. What challenges does a describer face? What kind of choices do they have to make?
Yeah.
And also, most importantly, there has been millions of dollars spent and thousands of hours spent conducting research, especially in the 90s and the early 2000s. A lot of it done by the AFB. I like Jackie Packer's research, but we did a lot of research also, Video Description Research and Development Center. Joel and I were both part of that. There's been a lot of research done. And the new people, and companies starting to produce description now aren't aware of it. We did all this work to find out, so what do people need? So what do they do? I mean, I organized tons and tons of focus groups for WGBH back in the day. But the new companies and the newcomers, I must say, those of us, Joel, who participated in finding, creating what are the best practices, getting opinions. I mean, how many conventions have blind people have I been to and done surveys and questionnaires and got live feedback and all sorts of things.
That's right.
And it continues, but we've done a poor job of making that information available to everybody and promoting the fact that it's there. And now we have a lot of describers that not only do not know about the research, and we have blind people calling themselves experts who are not aware of the research of the thousand. You know what? I'll say this last thing about this. I always have blind people in the job, and I love our friend in Germany that does the exact same thing. It's great. You have a blind person, but I can tell you whether we have a practice in my company. We have a sighted person writes a script. Another sighted person, quality control expert, watches it to see, like, I can't tell you as a blind person, is that shirt blue or not? But he can. But what the other thing that Jack Patterson does for us, and he created this process, which I now teach it to everybody, is sometimes you got to stop and let the blind person that's on the job listen to it, and then you stop and you say, what do you think is on the screen right now in your own words? If the blind person in their own words can't explain it clearly or explains it incorrectly, you see, oh, wow, they didn't get it. They didn't understand how these people were positioned or who had hold of who or where this person was or whatever. Then the description doesn't work no matter how well it's written. So the blind person confirms, did we conjure the accurate image by working together with a sighted person? And also,
Rick.
Our blind people become experts at eliminating ambiguous language. So those would be the roles.
No question. Just briefly, Rick, I want to hear a little bit, because this was seminal. You really pioneered the development of editing tools that can be used by people who are blind. Tell us just a little bit about that.
Sure. I've been a professional audio engineer since the 80s, and I was well aware I was using analog gear, and I became friends with John Harris, a blind person who invented a tactile audio meter, because you got to watch your decibel levels when you're involved in recording. He created some custom technology. It was really cool, and I wanted access to it, and I wanted to talk to him about it. But that led to conversations about, we both knew digital audio was coming. And we said, what are we going to do, right? Because now it's going to be numbers on computer screens, and I had no idea whether the infantile screen readers at the time were going to be able to relate the information on the screen. Was I going to be able to interact with the digital audio tools? So I became involved. I was going to the National Association of Music Merchants, NAM, they call it the NAM show, every year, where you actually can meet top executives in those days. I met all the presidents of the 4 major audio software developers at the time, right? DigiDesign, Unicorn, Mark the Unicorn, whatever the other 2 are. But met with them and told them, I said, look, there's thousands of blind people around the world I created an international society of blind audio engineers, and told them about our friends in England and our friends in Australia and other places. One blind person records the Ukraine National Orchestra, for example, and so we need to get access to this stuff. And all I was asking them was, can we test our screen reader technology with your music software?
Right.
Now, these 4 companies were competing to become the leaders. It's kind of like, for really old people like me, Beta versus VHS. Who's going to win the war?
Right.
When we're talking about formats of stuff, right?
So was this with Pro Tools principally?
And so DigiDesign ended up winning the battle, and Pro Tools is the ubiquitous. I mean, it's available in over 100 languages all around the world. It is the #1 professional digital audio software. The reality is, if you're an audio engineer working with filmmakers and television producers in Hollywood, you must use Pro Tools, because in the post-production process, they want you to transfer the session over to them. So if you're using some other software, it won't be compatible with their system. You're not going to get the job.
Right.
And so
Rick,
I started. I wanted to know if it could be done. Anyway, the end of the story, which is part of my book that'll be out next year, called Describing Blind, is that I was able, after 3 years of telling these people who kept saying they were interested but never did anything about it, I recognized what motivated them was competition. And so I sort of led
Who does
one
the
of them
best
to
software?
believe that.
Right.
Yep.
Rick, I'm going to move on.
I led each of them to believe that the other one was already working with me and was going to get the advantage. And I would say, now look, you and I know your software is great software, but all the blind people are going to be using the other person's software if they figure out that it works. So that motivated DigiDesign to work with us, and they shared their software with the developers of the screen reader technology.
Rick, I'm going to move on just because we're short on time, but I think the people who are blind, who are interested in audio, owe you a real debt of gratitude for your work in developing access to audio production tools. Let's go. Yes. Let's go across the pond on the west side of the United States to Japan, and Chihoko and AI. My understanding is that you developed your own small theater where all films screened have audio description, and so what a wonderful thing. Is the audio description open so that everybody hears it, or is it just delivered to consumers via headsets or smartphones? Tell us about that, your own theater, and how it uses description.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Snyder. Because Chihoko Hiratsuka, who is the founder of the first Universal Theater in Japan, cannot attend today. So I'd like to answer your questions on behalf of her, based on what I've heard from her, and also based on the script that she prepared. Okay, so could you please display some slides on the screen? Is it on the screen?
Yeah,
online.
We've got them.
No slides are shared. But
there you go.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is Cinema Chop Kitabata. This is the first Universal Theater in Japan. And to answer your question, so as the second slide of the presentation shows the photos of the seats.
Yeah,
of cinema.
Can you read aloud
see that on the screen?
Can you read aloud the text?
Okay. Okay. So that second page, please. Page 2.
I think we're breaking up a little bit.
Yes. So, so there are 3 photos in this slide, and the leftist photo shows a jack for connecting a smartphone to access audio description through an app.
Through an app
so
on their
each
smartphone.
seat
Good.
has this jack.
Good.
Yeah, and also each seat has earphones and a earphone controller. So as you've seen, like
That's
this,
great.
every seat of the cinema has those equipment. So these allow audience members to connect their smartphone and access audio description through an app. And also, the cinema provides the recorded audio description, so everyone can listen to the audio description by earphone.
Wonderful.
So they can switch on and off whenever they like.
And I see on the right a speaker that vibrates for deaf audience members.
Yes.
That's amazing.
They have that speaker as well for deaf audience members. Yes.
I think you would have a real market for this.
Can I go through?
Go ahead.
Yes. So can I explain all the slides, or what do you think?
Go ahead.
Okay. So page 3. Can you go to the page 3? So there are 2 photos on the slide, and the picture on the left shows a parent-child room. This is a soundproof room for a private use for parent and the child, so they can watch movies.
Great.
Without worrying about their noises. And also they have an in-house recording studio on the 2nd floor of the cinema. So they can record, this recording studio is used for recording audio description.
Wow.
And next slide, please.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So actually they were established with the support of the approximately $130,000 raised through crowdfunding, and then there are 4 photos in the slide, and then it shows the very beautiful mural. Very beautiful tree, which is called Chupuki tree. It's a beautiful tree mural decorated with leaf cutouts, which has the supporter's name. Each leaf cut has a supporter's name of the crowdfunding. That's
marvelous.
Some of the photos show how to cut from the board, and then also on the right side, there is a photo of the lobby, and they have a small shop selling some relevant publications and also the brochures of the films.
Wonderful.
And they also sell T-shirts, their own T-shirts.
There you go. They sell T-shirts. There you go.
And can you go to the last slide? Chihoko always wear their T-shirt, so it's so unfortunate that she cannot join today. Okay, so the last slide shows the 2 photos, and one is Chihoko smiling in front of Cinema Chupuki Tabata, and also another slide is their staff smiling in the theater. So there are 7 staff in the photos. But according to Chihoko, this is the staff 3 years ago. So now they have new members also.
This is just amazing.
Thank you. That's all. Yeah.
Yes. Just amazing. I think there is a market for this kind of delivery of accessibility throughout the United States. And I'm going to speak for South Africa and Nigeria too. Yes, I would hope. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Yes. The Nigerians on the line. I'm getting all mixed up. But I think there's market all around the world. Thank you so much, Ai. That is really something that we just don't have in the United States or South Africa. And we should. Let's move back to another part of the world. In Ireland, Sharon Gill, the head of Telegale. Tell us, Sharon, what is the extent of your work with AD in Ireland for film or for television? And do you work in English or Gaelic or both? You with us, Sharon?
I am indeed. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Sharon.
Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here. Well, while audio description is only recently becoming a mandatory part of post-production delivery in Ireland, we as a company have been delivering AD for international projects for many years. So we've created audio description for both TV and for film for different platforms, both in cinema and Netflix and in America, in England. We're a small country, but thankfully we're able to work with many international companies. So Ireland per se, it's quite it's an early development in Ireland. It's only recently become mandatory for certain projects to have AD, but because our background is very much in captioning and subtitles, we're kind of trying to bring it forward more and more, that if somebody comes to us looking for access services, in particular captioning, we can suggest, have you thought about your audio description? And lots of times, while it may not be mandatory, people are very keen to include it on their projects. So, and we create audio description both in English and in, as we say, Irish or Gaelic. We have an Irish broadcaster in Galway in Ireland, and we have an English broadcaster based in Dublin. So we have a few platforms that we can deliver AD to within Ireland. But we started internationally really more than
Oh, that's wonderful. I will give a nod to the company Dicapta in the United States, which almost exclusively produces audio description in Spanish in the United States. 50 million Spanish speakers, and they need audio description as well. I love what you're doing with English and Gaelic. Let me ask also, when you produce description, Sharon, do your audio description writers also voice the description, or are the two tasks handled differently by different individuals?
When we started initially, we had people doing both. So basically creating the script and recording. But as things have expanded, it just made way more sense to get somebody separately or a few people separately to record. And as we have studios in Telegale, that was kind of easily done. And we have a lot of remote workers as well. So they create the script, and then basically we have a director and a recordist in Telegale, and they can have the voice actor come in and record the audio description. So yeah, and they're multilingual, all of them that come in, they're speaking Irish and in English. They have both languages. So it's great, and it works out pretty good.
Yeah, for the audience, you were going to have a panel on live events later in the day, and description began as something that an individual wrote or developed the language. They may have delivered it from notes, but they also voiced it. They wrote it and they voiced it. And for media these days, it's almost the flip side, almost exclusively. You have writers, and then you have professional voice talents for description. That's great. Thank you so much, Sharon. Wow, lots of things going on in Ireland. Let's come home to, yes.
Thank you.
Let's come home to South Africa for AB and Eubulus. AB, I know that you're focused on the distribution of films throughout South Africa, and have there been challenges in getting the cinemas to accept audio description tracks?
So firstly,
please.
Thanks for that, Joel, but I just want to firstly acknowledge all of you. I think that the the absence of sight is not an absence of vision. And I
Yes.
think the power of vision is about experiencing, connecting, and belonging. And I want to recognize Shakila, yourself, and the fellow panelists, and all of the wonderful people here today, because you've created this platform. The vision that you've created is something that I think has been overlooked too long. So I want to commend you all for this, and particularly pay recognition to Shakila, who I've engaged with. To follow the lead from earlier, I'm wearing a black pants, a powder blue shirt, and a powder blue sports coat. So for those of you that's relevant, and I do have hair. So
you have hair on the top of your head. I got hair on the bottom of my head. What's the difference?
So,
Thank you.
We just have a balancing act.
Right.
There you go. So just to give a bit of context, I represent a family business that's been in cinema for 85 years. So actually our core is cinema, which was co-founded by my grandfather. He built a chain of cinemas which we lost under apartheid because of the legacy of our country. And I make that context because as a result of that history, we've always, as a business, engaged with the marginalized. In that context, and this is a continuation of that legacy, particularly in the context of visually impaired or blind individuals. So it's really around that. Another example is all our popcorn box sales. We contribute to tree planting. And so far we've been able, thanks to our customer support, plant over 2,000 trees, and we're continuing with that. So that just gives you a bit of context. So we're involved in cinema, content distribution, and production. So there's three tiers. In terms of your question, we have fortunately been collaborating with Shakila since 2012. And the first film that we did as an audio descript film was Slumdog Millionaire.
Oh, yes.
Which was a very well acknowledged and recognized film. And we've done a few others since, in addition to which I've proud to be the executive producer of a film called Greytown Gill, which we've just done the audio descript for, and which will be screened at our cinemas tomorrow as part of the program.
Oh, wow.
So that'll be...
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that's part of the collaboration with Shakila. So, and I'm delighted that that film also won a Cannes Award, so hopefully you're going to enjoy the film as much as we did making it. So, so that there are challenges, I think, as a distributor of content, we supply our own cinemas and other cinemas. The other cinemas have not really been engaging or taken up this.
We're going to get Shakila on those other cinemas.
No, she's already on them, so don't
That's
worry.
right.
Shakila is a dynamite.
That's right.
From our point of view, we're very keen to continue to engage on this. I know Shakila did mention to me that she's working on an app, which we are looking forward to collaborating on. And I think that will facilitate. I think technology has certainly allowed the opportunity to start accelerating and enhancing these type of accessibilities. So from that point of view is where we're really very keen, and then hopefully if we're able to adopt it, then we can continue to encourage other exhibitors to do so.
That would be well, and your competitors will adopt it.
Exactly.
Because they'll see how wonderfully it works. You know, in the United States, we have something, there's going to be a panel later on laws and regulatory aspects, but in the United States, we have something called the Americans with Disabilities Act, and that's what led to every feature film in the United States coming out with an audio description track. And I'm wondering, what do you know about, or are there laws, regulations in South Africa?
In South Africa, what's enshrined in our constitution, we have one of the most advanced constitutions in the world, actually, post our democracy. And what's enshrined is actually, and it says that the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act. And that would be, that this would fall under that.
Good.
So there is legislation in place, but legislation is one thing, implementation is something else. And I think that's the challenge that we face with in engaging, is to ensure that this kind of implementation, so the structures are there, the laws are there, but it's really about trying to encourage adoption.
Maybe we need some consumers of description to rise up and say, hey, we want to be able to see that film, we need description.
Yes.
And provide that for us, or we take it to court, or whatever, as a last resort.
Yeah, and we've engaged with the studios in America to say, I did explain to them that there is this app that Shakila is working on, so we're engaging with all the major studios, and I think that they're very keen to facilitate it once we prove the technology and have
exactly, and the app that Shaquille is working on in South Africa, that will make it easier for cinemas, because they don't have to deal with maintaining equipment and handing out headsets. No, you access it through your own smartphone.
Exactly.
That's great, Avi. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Now, Eubulus, let me hear about your work as the creator of film. Tell us about your work with Shakila to produce and incorporate description for your own award-winning film, Deep End. I'm eager to hear about that.
Thanks, Joe. I'll also explain. I'm wearing culturally approved clothes. I've got a Lee jeans, that's white, Levi jeans, sorry, and a T-shirt.
Eubulus and I go to the same hairdresser.
Yes, yes. And I was late because I had to get my hair prepared. I'm going to ask a question for a reason, and then I'll say something about me and then how my mind works. Because my mind is like a Mad Hatter's Tea Party, and I'm like Alice goes down every rabbit hole. So the question I'm going to ask, and it has a reason to it: does pain exist? We know it's real, but does pain exist? And there's a reason for that. So a little bit about me. I had an aunt who was blind and deaf. But she was an independent woman, so we used to write in a hand. And for yes, we did this, and for no was that. You know?
Describe what you're doing, Eubulus.
Right? Okay, so for yes, we had to lift a hand up and down, and for no, we had to move it left to right.
There we go.
She would travel on her own by bus from Reservoir Hills to Beatty Street to where the Blind Society was every single day and go back home. So, and she was involved in every part of our lives, so we understood what it is. And then further down the line, I became the first person to direct a show from Robben Island, and because of that, I was given the opportunity to become the first chair of the Cape Film Commission, which allowed us to develop film in South Africa, what it is now. And then I came to Durban and was involved with promoting Durban tourism, because there was no tourism in those days. The one thing I found was that when you tell film, if you're sitting at home and you're watching television and you need to get something from the other room or from the kitchen,
right.
What do you do? Do you put it on pause or you push up the volume? Right? I push up the volume and I go and get it done. That's audio description for the people who can see. Right? And so our minds, and I asked that question for a reason, because pain does not exist. It is created in the mind. There are no pain receptors in the body. But the mind creates what it wants so that we can understand our situation. So what you guys are doing, and Deep End was one of the first, I don't think it was the first, Shakila. It was among the first. Yes. Yeah, and so to have audio description, and I was very supportive because, again, I understood what it meant. But beside the technical side of creating audio description, which is doing an amazing job, and we can't wait for the app to come out and work efficiently, because it'll change the game plan. From a filmmaker, we have to write parts for characters with disabilities. Mm-hmm. Now, in Deep End, I did write a part for a blind a character, which Shakila was supposed to play, and she backed out. Right? Look at her laughing. You should see how he projects me. And it was written in a very specific way. It was not just having a character who has a disability. The person, it was a blind woman, and her son was this quite a brash guy. But what was it that made him look favorable in the girl's eyes? The way he treated his blind mother. And that is what I wanted to show in the character development of the story.
Sure.
So you write characters in a way that makes it believable to the audience. And that's what it means when you're writing for cinema, that you have these characters. I try to be inclusive in all my films. I always try to be inclusive in all my films. And then Rick spoke about about Foley.
Yeah.
The sound, we have a saying in the industry, you can have a bad picture, but you cannot have bad sound. and they will pick it up, because that's the first thing that our senses pick up is the audio. We pick up sound, and we then take that, and our eyes are there just to direct our head to where the sound is coming from. And we have this ability to transform the sound from what it is to what we think it is.
Sure.
And that is where the sound designer comes in. So when he does create, he is aware that people with disabilities are going to be listening to this.
Yeah.
And that is something that we need to look at.
That's marvelous. Your awareness as a filmmaker, your awareness of this what is often usually post-production activity. I'm looking forward to the day when filmmakers study description in film school, and they start incorporating description in the film script.
Yeah.
And then you have a piece that's universally designed. It is as accessible as it is. You don't need that add-on of audio description.
So the movie that we are making at the moment,
yes,
it's going to be released at AB's place in next month. My sound engineer, the sound designer, was given strict instructions of how the sound has to be and why it has to be, and we explained to them it's going to be sound audio description. And he was involved with Deep End, and if you watch Deep End, every single wave was played in the way it was sounded, the way it was seen, going out and going in, the flap, every single sound of the waters, because a lot of it was shot on water. So we try to bring that visual sound into the heads of people who are watching it. And that's why we can walk into another room while the television is on.
Sure.
Our brain takes over.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. Yes. Eubulus. Let's go to another part of this great continent. And Austen, are you with us there from Nigeria? Hello.
Hello, Joel.
There you are. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Welcome. To tell us about audio description in Nigeria. This is something that's a gap in my own awareness. To what extent is audio description involved in the making of film in Nigeria?
Let me start by thanking, the convener and everyone available. It's a privilege, and we are all excited, and we want to be part of this and to support the movement. So currently in Nigeria, the landscape, audio description is still limited, but emerging, driven mainly by platforms, the Showmax, the Netflix, Amazon Prime, and so on. Some studios, like ours, Forever Dubbing Studio, already provide audio description for international deliveries. There are no unified policies or accessibility standards yet, So the industry remains informal regarding audio description workflows.
Wow. Do you have some particular projects you're currently working on, Austen? And how do you plan on incorporating description?
So currently at the moment, we don't have projects, but we have catalog pilots that we are preparing. We are trying to build from already existing titles, films that we would have them, the audio description made. And also, we are still putting together a selection of titles, international titles that we are working on. Secondly, there are new productions that we intend to, kind of incorporate audio description in the script development processes, So that's where we are at the moment.
Right. Well, it sounds like it's a burgeoning field in Nigeria. You have a ways to go, but you have people like AB and Eubulus here on the continent to help you, and Shakila, of course, to help you further develop description throughout Nigeria. There's been, thank you, Austen, for sharing that with us about Nigeria. We've heard a great deal about apps for audio description, and there are about half a dozen of them around the world. In the United States, we have one called Spectrum Access. There's something in Italy called Movie Reading. There's several others. And Shakila, like she hasn't been doing enough for audio description, she's taken it upon herself to develop her own version of this app that you can use on your own smartphone. The smartphone, you download description to it, and the smartphone app listens to the film and automatically syncs. But I'm telling you about it. Do we have this queued up? This is a little video promo about Shakila's work with this app here in South Africa.
Text. Welcome to ShazaCin's innovative mobile app, Describe At. A laptop playing the movie A Lollipop and a phone with the Describe At app open. The yellow Listen button is pressed. The words Finding a Match appear. An information box on Describe At. Match found. On the app is the poster for A Lollipop. Below it are its available AD tracks. The AD-only track plays, while the movie plays on the laptop. The AD track starts playing from just over 10 minutes in. On the laptop, the film is also just over 10 minutes in. Describe At and the laptop play simultaneously.
Wow. What you're learning about here, this is the future of audio description. No more handing out headsets at the movie theater and headset, not just the headsets, but the delivery device itself. I know blind people in the United States throughout have a collection of free passes to the movie theater because they go and the equipment at the movie theater doesn't work. And so the movie people say, well, here's a free pass. So we're so sorry. You can come back another time and have it not work also. It's awful. It's awful. Shakila, if we have some time, maybe we can take a question or two from online and also from the group here. We got a full house here. How shall we do this? If someone can run a microphone. Any questions here in the house for anybody on the panel?
Joe, you can take 2.
Okay.
30 seconds max.
Oh, okay. Any questions? We can have some microphone brought to you. Oh, here we go. Oh, good.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this beautiful session. I'll be quite quick. I wanted to find out how is artificial intelligence impacting AD? Just a highlight on that. Is it something being embraced? Is it a challenge? Is it a villain? I know I come from the screenwriting community. My name is Junaid. I'm on the Council of the Writers Guild of South Africa. Yep. And we're having a lot of challenges here and throughout the world with our sister guilds. But how is it affecting people in the AD universe? Thank you.
Wow. I will jump in here because I have published a paper and presented on, I think one of the papers is called AD and AI for good or ill. And I have had experiences with AD and AI, for instance, trying to write description of a still image, not a moving picture, still image. I write description of it, and then I asked ChatGPT to write it, and they came up with 4 or 5 errors right off the bat, and they know nothing about how to order the description. And I'm working with software developers at Microsoft to try to remedy this so they can be aware of how good audio description is written. And the same with voicing. It's not exactly AI, but speech synthesis. That is here. Major production companies in the United States are using artificial voices, speech synthesis to voice description. And here too, it's not a matter of sounding human. They've got that. It can sound human. What I need from an audio description voice talent is the ability to make meaning, to recognize nuance and pause, and to kind of work in symbiosis with the writer, really, in a way. The great Maya Angelou, the great American poet, said, "Words mean more than what is written on paper. It takes the human voice to make meaning." I don't know, yeah. I think AI is just not there yet. So, I mean, on the other hand, there are applications for AI that are wonderful for people who are blind. The voicing of textbooks, perhaps. Lots of, listen, there are how many billions of videos on YouTube, right? Are they all going to have audio description produced professionally? No, but AI could help in making access there. Great question.
I just want to add something to that.
Oh, please.
If I'm next to you.
Oh, there you are. Maybe. I'm
That's
looking
okay.
at the screen.
So I think just to answer that, the AI is doubling its capacity every 5.7 months, actually. The current IQ of ChatGPT is 120. They're expecting it to go to 1,200 in the next couple of years. Now, those are all numbers floating around. The reality is it's coming, but I think where the power of it is those that adopt it as a supportive tool, that'll help us. So even like in Shakila's app, if they can put an AI brain into it, which I'm sure will happen, I have no doubt, Shakila, that will really enhance the speed, efficiency, cost implications of these type of things. So I think it's really about adopting the tools, and I think the work, Joel, that you're doing with Microsoft, etc., is going to help to enhance the situation, but I think it's more of a supportive tool than a replacement tool.
Right. Yeah. Same with translation. You've got to work with the human being. It's an assist, if you will. I think there was a question over here. Yeah, let's go there, and then we'll see what we have online.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ntloni Pondlovu, and I am from Tourism and Film. I am an African woman with curly hair and chocolate brown skin, and I'm wearing black clothing, so a black skirt and a black shirt. And my question is to Shakila. It's with regards to language when it comes to audio describing. Obviously, we're in South Africa with 12 official languages, and there are far more languages as well in the rest of the world. Are there any plans of incorporating our South African languages as well to the films that are going to be audio described, especially because we have, we've got Zulu, we've got Xhosa, and the rest of the languages. So that's just my question.
Great question,
Thank you.
Shakila.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes,
Yes, great question, and thank you so much. So we're already into several languages, English, Zulu, Xhosa. What's the, Tracy, what was that ancient one?
Is it Arabic? Ancient language.
Asian language? Yeah.
No, not Asian.
Oh,
Khoisan.
Sorry.
Khoisan. So we already have done those languages. So a lot has to do with, and I'm glad Tourism and Film asked that question, a lot has to do with budget. So So we're happy to create film in all our languages, and that requires training persons who speak all those languages in the ability to describe in their language. And that is exactly our aspiration, and then to ensure that all languages in Africa, because after all, persons with blindness come speaking all languages. All right?
Sure.
So that's a great question, and that is certainly
Sure.
our aspiration, and funders like yourself should certainly build it into your budget.
That's great. I think we have time for one question online. Can we go ahead and have that in the chat, or can you unmute?
Yeah.
Yes, Futi.
Yes, thank you very much. Futi from the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities in the Presidency. Mine is just to check, I enjoyed the first panel and the presentations that have been made, and congratulations to all. What kind of policy reforms would you propose, especially at the level of basic education? What is it? Maybe policy reforms is too deep, but what kind of programs can we propose in order to inculcate the culture of AD? Because I believe that from a very young age, from a very small, when children are children, it starts right there. But also, what can you propose to be some of the policy reforms that can come in? I know that we can talk about ensuring that there's a policy on audio description and basic education level and so forth, but I just want to know what are the quick wins that we can come up with in order to inculcate the culture of audio description, because I believe that it's something that is societal and needs to be at the most basic level be inculcated in our society from children before we even begin, because for it to grow into the value chain to workplaces and so forth, it has to be made part and parcel of everyone consciously, intentionally, to want to and to learn audio description. And also from the panel there, what has been the challenges that you've experienced in getting the film industry, for instance, to really uptake audio description? I know there's an issue of funding, there's an issue of budgets, but I believe that somehow, somewhere, everything required funding and budgeting. But what have been quite the key bottlenecks? What have been the issues?
Let me interrupt, because I think we have time just to speak to your first question. Do we have panelists online that can speak to audio description and education and its applications for young children? Does anybody want to speak to that? Or Eubulus? Eubulus, go ahead, please.
I think audio description for film at this point is the first stepping stone that will then lead to everything else. Once this becomes the norm, it will be introduced in school. It will make life so much easier. Yep. Yes, there are, it has to be, and it has to be triggers for others to look at.
Yep.
It has to be triggers for others to look at. Until they see it done in film, they say, oh, okay, we can do it at school, right up to grade R. Children who are challenged have the ability, I think this is the beginning.
Anybody online?
Shakila?
I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry for interrupting, but this is a beautiful question. And being a blind person myself, I've come to realize, like Rick, because we've had this conversation, that audio description is not merely an accessibility tool, which it is, and not merely an art form, which it is, but it's beyond that. It's a developmental instrument. And that is why, from infancy, if parents learn to describe, if early infant stimulation teachers learn to describe, children who are born blind, who become blind, will understand the visual world equally as sighted persons, and will integrate and be mainstreamed equally as sighted persons. So it's critical that the art of description is seen beyond the context of entertainment and just accessibility for accessibility's sake. It's part of our physical capability and effectiveness.
Sure. Do you want to speak to that over here? We have one other person in the audience here. Can we get a microphone? Hello. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Mbali. I'm a middle-aged black African woman with curly strawberry blonde hair that I bought. And I'm wearing a white shirt. I just literally wanted to make one comment. Shakila, congratulations on putting together this symposium, much needed. I literally want to add, from a South African perspective, we've got the policies, we've got the regulations. I mean, ICASA gazetted the Access Services Code in 2021, right? And that they put in measures to say all categories of broadcasters, platform owners, a certain percentage of their content needs to be accessible.
Yep.
But it's not, no one's forcing ICASA to implement their own regulations. So I think we just need more of these conversations and an action plan that comes out of it to actually call them out and make sure that they are actually implementing what they put into place.
Hear, hear.
And also, we need to create more awareness. I meet filmmakers, so one of the hats I wear is the Joburg Film Festival. I meet filmmakers all the time. They don't know. Local filmmakers don't know about audio description. So, I think we've gone way ahead in terms of subtitles and closed captioning. That's what we are familiar with.
Yes,
But audio description is very new. We don't have the skills, we don't have the people. So we do need an action plan to actually
I agree totally. Not just in South Africa, around the world, certainly. Just to turn back to education, I'll make one more comment and we'll close this session. I long for the time when every teacher, every parent, sharing a picture book with his or her daughter or son or student, you get to a picture of a red ball and the caption says, "See the ball." And then you turn the page? No. See the ball. You know, that ball is as red as a fire engine. It's its largest one of you. I think it's like a great round circle or sphere. What has teacher done? With just a sentence or two, introduced new vocabulary, made comparisons, used a simile, if you will. So not only does description make the book, the picture, accessible to a kid who's blind, it helps build literacy in anybody listening. And, we say in the United States and around the world, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, I don't know any blind people that want to hear 1,000 words about a picture, but I think the describer says that a few well-chosen words can conjure vivid and lasting images. Thank you all for coming to this session here. Let's move on, Shakila. We got lots more. Thank you.
Whoa, Joe, that was amazing. I want to thank all our panelists online, and thank you for staying up all hours of the morning. And then we moved from west, where they are just, should be in a deep sleep, and moving towards the east, where their day is coming to an end. But thank you, everyone. So tea now. Because of limited time, I want to please ask sighted persons at each table to please help us visually impaired persons to access the beverages and the snacks. And if you could please bring it to our tables so that we can continue, in 10 minutes' time with the next session. Is that okay? And also, if you want to know where the bathrooms are, so Deborah is our expert. Deborah? You can share where the bathrooms are, please.